Hi guys, so I'm making this video today as an update to let you all know what's going on, but again also for my own protection, just as a document, right? Right. So we're not going out very often anymore, and the building is pretty much on lockdown now. They're not letting people, not letting visitors in. They're letting staff in, and whoever works here, whoever needs to be here, which it's good that they're being more careful, and they're screening at the front too, so everyone who comes in who doesn't live here has their temperature taken. Again, that's good. I'm glad they're doing that. The problem is I had anticipated that they would still be letting the perpetrators in, and they are. Right? I had to go out today, and I'm trying to limit my outings. Well, we'll get into that, but as I was leaving, a guy, he's tall, white, he's looks maybe in his 50s. He walked down, kind of looked down at me, and then walked over to the front desk, gave his ticket to be stamped for the garage, and then left. I've seen him before. They're letting the perpetrators in, and I either they don't realize that, they don't know that what's going. I mean, some of the people I told what's going on, so they should know better. Maybe they just don't have a choice. And of course, if if the psychopaths who are doing this, running this program, the stalking program, have lied to them and presented false information and false badges and who knows what, then they could be letting them in anyway under the guise of whatever they told them, right? Because guests aren't allowed here at the moment, right? Guests aren't allowed. And I saw them turn someone away, which, you can't just come in here when this is going on, when because there are so many seniors here. And so they're not just letting anyone in. And so I've seen them turn some people away, but the perpetrators are still getting in somehow, right? And I'm guessing they've just used some excuse to justify being here when no one else is allowed. And I was afraid that would happen. Anyway, I'm not, my mom and I, we're not going out often, and I'm not going out often anymore either. Sometimes I have to. Bills have to be paid, and because of the situation, the organized stalking, I don't use, we don't use our personal accounts to pay anything online or even over the phone. If I do pay, if I do order something online, I use prepaid gift cards. If I pay a bill, and sometimes I pay a bill over the phone too with a prepaid card, something like that. But yeah, we don't use our personal accounts to pay bills online or over the phone for obvious reasons. But it looks like at some point that's going to be forced, right? So, I absolutely had to go out today. I had some errands to run. There was no getting around it, and it's difficult because when I come back, I have to sanitize everything, and we'll get into that later. But literally, I come back, I don't touch the door. I kick my shoes off. I immediately wash my hands with disinfectant soap, and I take off I take my clothes and I put them in a dirty bag, and I take a shower and change clean clothes because I don't want to contaminate anything in this apartment. But we'll get to that, how hard it is to make outings nowadays. But today I had to. I had to because I had to pay some bills, and of course, and I had to run some errands. So of course, I ran the errands, and when I went to pay the bill, they said the system was down and it couldn't be paid. Now they've done this before. And this is an important bill that really had to be paid. It's not late. We're early. I'm trying to pay it a little bit early just in case there's a complete lockdown in the city and we can't go out. So I'm trying to get things done a little bit early. But yeah, even that didn't work because the system was down, even though the store was open, right? The business was open, but the system was down, so I couldn't pay. And this is not the first time they've done that. I've gone to that place before, and they've said the same thing. The system is down. You can't pay you can't pay your bill today. Come back, tomorrow. Try again tomorrow. And it's not the fault of the people up front. It's not their fault. They're getting instructions from someone else, right? They're getting instructions to just not let me pay the damn bill when I have to, which forces me then to make another outing tomorrow or the day after or whenever I decide to go out, right? And today was, and I made that stop last, and I was afraid. I anticipated that something like that would happen because today was when I go out and I have a lot of very tall Russian-looking guys follow me around. I know that the day is going to end badly. It's going to end badly, and I'm going to have to exert every ounce of restraint I have to not start shouting at them in the streets. Uh, yeah, right from the beginning, right from the start, from when I left, and that guy walked out, and he made sure to show me to me that I would know that he was there to make his presence known, to show me that he didn't belong there, to smirk a little, that he got in anyway. It's kind of almost boastful that he got in anyway. Ha ha. When other people can't get in, he got in. Right from the start, it was that way. And so different locations I went to, I'm boxed in by these tall, very Eastern European looking males. Okay. And I can tell by the shape of the face they are Russian. And some of them actually have Russian accents. So, or, well, no, they could be Ukrainian too, but, and I can tell you for sure now, some of them are waiting outside voting, at least one particular voting booth, they're waiting outside. They're on their cell phones, and they're looking at people going in, and they're following certain people in. So they're interfering. And a while back, maybe I don't know how long ago it was, but I went to vote, and at the voting booth, and they, just to piss me off, they were playing a Russian radio station. And so just when I think, okay, this is entirely the CIA or the FBI or it's our government, something like this happens where the provocations are coming from Russians. So I don't know what's going on, unless they're really not Russian, unless they're just made to look that way, sound that way to make us think that it's Russia. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say that again. I don't know. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be confused. Anyway, one guy ended up following me and smirking the entire time and looking at his phone and smirking. And, that was before I made the last stop. And I was wearing a face mask the entire time, only because I didn't buy them. Now, I had stocked up years ago on supplies just to have supplies in our home. I had Lysol wipes and face wipes, not a lot, but I had some face wipes from a few years, not face wipes, face masks from a few years ago, and I still had some left. So I wore one out today, and I don't want to waste them. So that's why I don't want to go out too often. I have to be careful when I come back here because my mom is elderly. There are elderly people here. So I'm wearing that, when I go out. Hopefully I won't have to go out too often anymore. But yeah, so I went to the last location, and I went in with, I still had the mask on. At that point, it's getting warm out, and I'm wearing a hat and a jacket, and the face mask is hot, and I'm breathing into it, and miserably. So I go to the last location, and of course I can't pay the bill. I can't pay the bill. The systems are down. And the woman showed me on her computer the system was down, which means I have to go out tomorrow. So I have to waste another mask, right? I have to waste another mask tomorrow, and I don't have many left. And there's nowhere to get any more anyway. And even if you could get them, nowadays, we need to save those for healthcare workers. So, yeah. And then there are my Lysol wipes. Even though I had stocked up on some of those, not a whole lot, but some of those even before the outbreak, because I have to sanitize so much now. I blew through those very quickly. I don't have the Lysol wipes anymore. I have some of the spray left. Uh, we're running when you have to sanitize everything when you come in, and anything that comes into the apartment, you'd be surprised how quickly you run out of the resources. And if you can't go out again, it's difficult. And I do have to sanitize everything that comes in because I have to be careful with my elderly mother, right? That means every piece of mail, either I'm going to read it for her, or, if she wants to see it, I'm going to literally sanitize it before she touches it. And then I'm going to have her wash her hands afterwards. In this building, they serve breakfast and dinner, but not lunch. Even before they went on lockdown, they've closed down the building, so the dining room was closed. But even before they closed that, I had her stop going to breakfast and lunch, breakfast and dinner, and I was just making her food in the apartment, only because I was afraid that she could, maybe, I was afraid the food downstairs. You never know how careful people are. And a few years ago, there was, I think I spoke about this. There was a supposed norovirus that went around the building. Now, my mom's doctor said it sounded more like food poisoning, but the building said it was norovirus. The thing is, the only people who didn't get it were the people who didn't eat in the dining room. That said, once the virus, it looked like it was going to get bad. I've been keeping her upstairs, and I've just been cooking for her, and we've got food supplies, so that's fine. Um, but now what they're doing is, because they closed the dining room, they're actually bringing breakfast and dinner to the residents. So what I do is when the containers come, I take everything out of the containers. I throw the containers out, the styrofoam, plastic, whatever. I wash my hands. I take the food, I warm it up, even if it's already warm, because I'm thinking if there is bacteria in there, heating it up will kill the bacteria. Um, so I warm that up for her, and then I give that to her when I know that it's safe and it's clean. Everything, but everything has to be wiped down. Everything, everything that comes in from outside has to be sanitized, especially because, when you're dealing with children or some elderly individuals, they're not always careful. They don't always understand cross-contamination. When you're dealing with someone, when you try to tell someone, hey, don't touch something dirty and then touch your face or put your hands in your mouth. They say, oh yeah, 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 I know, I know. So then what do? They cover their hands with their sleeve. They touch something dirty with their sleeve, and then they wipe their face with it and their eyes with it and their mouth with it. So they don't, and then you say, well, you just contaminated yourself, and they say, well, no, no, I didn't. I haven't touched anything dirty with my hands and then touched my mouth with it. So when you're dealing with that, yeah, really, when you're dealing with that, someone doesn't understand cross-contamination. It's not about their hands. It's about not touching your face with anything that's contaminated, whether it's your hand, your sleeve, or your glove, right? They don't understand it. So when you're dealing with someone like that, you have to just sanitize everything. And it's easier when you don't have to go out because you know that everything in here is clean. Now they're bringing the food in, so I have to make sure that's clean. And then there's just the mail that I have to make sure, is okay, is sanitized. But aside from that, it's easier when we don't have to go out. But when I have to keep going out, it's much harder because I'm going out when you don't know who's coughing and sneezing, and I have to come back and pretty much sanitize myself. Okay, just kick my shoes off into the corner, go into the bathroom before I touch anything, scrub my hands down, take off all the clothes I wore outside, put them in the laundry bag, take a shower, put on new clothes, wipe down the door. And then whatever I brought in has to be sanitized. It's hard, and I don't want to have to keep going out. So now they're forcing me to go out again by not allowing me to pay that bill today. They're forcing me to go out again tomorrow or the next day or whenever I decide to. And so as I was coming back, I was walking home today. Two people, one who lives here, one who works here. They walked toward me again. It's a very tall white guy, maybe in his mid-30s, and an older white woman, also very tall. The guy was talking, he was smiling and smirking, and he was talking about how it's going to be illegal to go out or something, totally against the law to go out, knowing that they just forced me into a situation where I'm going to have to go out again. Okay? These are sick animals, and these are the sick, filthy games they play. Not to mention the perpetrators who they have out, they wait for you, and as soon as you get by them, they start coughing and sneezing. They don't do it until you cross them. Now, they could be faking it, but even if they are, people can get, first of all, people could be, the incubation period for the virus, it takes a while. It's what is it, between 2 and 14 days? Some even 30, 31 days. People could be incubating. They could be carrying the virus without knowing it, and which means they could also spread it without knowing it. So when they're coughing out like that without covering their mouth and sneezing without covering their mouth, they could be making other people sick. Okay, this is dangerous. This is what the organized stalkers do even during a pandemic. Okay, the people who are running this are psychopaths, but the perpetrators who are working for them and agreeing to do this are endangering their lives and everybody else's. Okay, I swear to God, if this program ever ends, this needs to be taken into consideration as well, what they're doing now during a pandemic.